The Joker wanted to prove something, a truth, a very harsh one in fact, that many of us would simply deny. In every meticulous planned scheme, he will leave not only Batman completely broken, but also figures of good, police officers in the entire city. The worst part is that the Joker might not be so wrong after all. A group of criminals hidden behind clown masks robs a mob bank. As the heist progresses, they talk about the leader calling himself Joker, but they don't know him. This person meticulously planned this robbery, killing each other to reduce a number and thus increase their profits. What no one knew was that the Joker was inside the bank with them, wearing a mask, and that he was going to take absolutely all the money from the heist. Here we realize, from the immoral part, that he's a magnificent and cold-blooded strategist. The bank manager reproaches him, saying that the criminals in that city used to have honor and respect, as he watches the Joker ruthlessly dispatch his companions. Afterward, the Joker said, "I think what doesn't kill you
makes you stranger."
It makes much more sense when we remember that this entire conversation, the whole scene, has been about criminals. The criminals in Gotham have clearly been attacked by Batman, but they haven't died. Instead, they become more aggressive, more unhinged, and stranger.
This is how crazy Batman's made Gotham.
But what has happened to the hope of the city, Batman? The police force and the government in general remain as inefficient and opaque as ever. While the mayor talks about arresting Batman, the police have to put up the bat signal to scare criminals. Although some are frightened, others, like Scarecrow, openly defy the warning. In a parking lot, Batman interrupts Scarecrow's illicit dispute, quickly subduing him and leaving him alongside other criminals and Batman imitators who were trying to help. While before it was talked about being a symbol that inspires others, the result is a group of bad imitators that hinders the Dark Knight's mission. The Scarecrow, who used to be the most comic book-like of the villains, now seems almost normal compared to those Russian thugs with rapid dogs and submachine guns. Dogs, the only creature that actually managed to harm Batman. On the other hand, Rachel, a lawyer and a Bruce Wayne's childhood friend from who he harbors feelings, is in a relationship with her colleague, Harvey Dent, the uncorruptible New City District Attorney who always carries a coin. He tries to rid the city of the mafia as if it were some kind of salvation within politics, without being a vigilante. Harvey wants to be part of the Gordon and Batman duo. He knows he did a good thing. One night, Harvey and Rachel run into Bruce and his date Natasha at a restaurant and end up sharing a table.
Sure that they'll let us. Oh, they should. I own the place.
The topic of Batman comes up, and while Natasha criticizes him for acting above the law, Harvey defends him, arguing that the city allowed crime to take over its streets. Upon hearing his support and vision, Bruce decides he can trust Harvey. Both Harvey and Batman share that dedication to the cause, and that idealism which contrasts with Gordon, who accepts the system with resignation despite his corruption. The mobsters hold a meeting. Lau, the accountant who managed their investment, mentions that he learned the police were going after everyone's money, and managed to relocate it to a safe place. He then fled to Hong Kong, where he's considered untouchable. They later try to organize their stolen money from the clown's robberies. And that's when the Joker, the protagonist of their disappearing money, shows up. The Joker, with his characteristic sarcasm, points out that he knows the mobsters meet in the mornings out of fear of Batman, and asserts that Batman will follow him to Hong Kong. He then proposes a deal: eliminate Batman in exchange for half of the protected money. The mob boss' irritability increases. The Joker notices and decides to escalate his provocation, warning him that if he don't deal with this soon, little Gumbo won't have any penny for his grandmother. The mob boss gets up angrily, wanting to finish off the Joker, but the clown reveals an arsenal of bombs strapped to his jacket. The room freezes, and before leaving, the Joker leaves his card, in case they change their minds. Batman meets with Gordon and Harvey, who discusses how the mobster anticipates their moves. Amid accusations of corruption in the prospective offices, Harvey emphasizes the need to bring Lau back, although they face an obstacle. China refuses to extradite its citizen. Batman volunteers to go and get him, just as the Joker predicted. The mobster puts a price on the Joker's head, but the cunning clown sets a trap. He pretends to be dead, is brought before the mobster, and unexpectedly gets up and subdues him. He tells a story about how he got his scars, claiming that his alcoholic father gave them to him after stabbing his mother. His father turned to him and said this:
Why so serious?
After this, he gets rid of the mobster. Let's dive a little deeper into the character who stole the show in this movie, and little by little, we'll decipher how his mind works and his reasons. The first sequence reveals something interesting about the Joker. The film begins with a bank robbery, a sequence edited in a parallel that shows how the Joker, through his plans, eliminate the entire team of thieves until the last moment. One of the mobsters responsible for protecting the bank accuses him of a moral failing. The Joker approaches him, and revealing his face, says,
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
This phase is a twist on the famous saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but with a small change, replacing a letter to give it more impact. This moment sets the tone for the rest of the film. because makes you stranger, understanding strange as an odd or different, means the Joker only needs one sequence to define himself as a character. The phrase, "what doesn't kill you makes you stronger," is a life philosophy that suggests difficult experiences toughen you and boost your confidence. However, the Joker rejects this positive view, arguing that traumatic experiences do not make you stronger but change you, taking away traits you once had. His response to the bank manager emphasizes that life's blows can strip away your morals. Going further, the phrase, "what doesn't kill you makes you stronger," originally comes from Friedrich Nietzsche, who wrote that it actually means what doesn't kill you wounds you severely and leaves you so beaten down that you accept mistreatment and tell yourself it makes you stronger. The Joker's reply captures the true meaning of Nietzsche's word, mocking the way the phrase has been taken out of context and twisted. The perspective makes more sense, as we see the Joker as a nihilistic figure. For him, nature's about extreme freedom, and like a near superhuman, he seeks personal pleasure as his ultimate principle. Batman arrives in Hong Kong, and with the help of Lucius Fox, who manages Bruce Wayne's companies and provides him with technology and gadgets for his mission, carries out a spectacular operation, where from a taller building in Hong Kong, he infiltrates and kidnaps Lou, while fighting with the local police and causing chaos in the process, and then handing over to Gordon in the Gotham City. Lau reveals the names of all his clients, and Gordon makes a mass arrest, but the mob has already hired the Joker, since he was right about Batman after all. Suddenly, the body of Batman impersonator crashes through the mirror's window. The Joker is carrying a card. In a video message, he threatens that if Batman doesn't turn himself in, innocent people will die every day. A warning, no doubt. But these are the words that would place Batman as primarily responsible for those losses.
I'm a man of my word.
Bruce then holds a party to raise funds to Harvey Dent on the ballot. He does this so that Gotham City has a hero with a face and stops needing Batman. But why? Bruce became Batman because his goal was to end the crime and the corruption that killed his parents. But now, he doesn't feel that his appearance has done enough, that it hasn't solved as many problems as it has created. This violence is creating more violence. They're getting stranger and stronger, but if it doesn't serve his purpose, what right does he have to act outside the law? How can the police, corrupt and ineffective, be incapable of following the mafia's movements? And how is Batman supposed to get them out of trouble, breaking the law and doing things that no government institution could or should do? It's not exactly a good thing that society's safety depends on a single man, because society as a whole cannot manage itself. That's why the attempt is to change the status quo. Harvey Dent is the answer, the only card Bruce has to play to complete his mission. Giving the responsibility of Batman to someone else is the only way Bruce uses Batman, because it's the only way he understands to fight criminals. What he knows is what differentiates him from the imitators. But Harvey Dent, as a district attorney of Gotham, doesn't have to use violence, at least not directly, to make justice prevail. Instead, he does it by applying the law. A hero with a face. Meanwhile, Gordon discovers that the Joker's card contains the DNA of these three individuals: a judge, a commissioner, and Harvey Dent himself, marking them as the next targets. Although Gordon launches an operation to protect them, the commissioner is poisoned, and the judge's cards explode. Meanwhile, Bruce, under the immediate threat, knocks out Harvey and hides him for his safety. The Joker and his henchmen then burst into the party, eager to find Harvey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Rachel bravely challenges the Joker, who, approaching her, identifies her as the district attorney's partner. He asks if his scars make her nervous and forces her to look at him, although this time he tells a completely different version. Supposedly, he gave himself those scars because his girlfriend at the time had been in an accident and was depressed because her face was disfigured. So, to make her feel better, he cuts his mouth. But logically, she left him after such a repulsive act. Based on the stories told by the villain, we can deduce that probably none of them were true, but rather that he used them as a method of manipulation. It's more than clear that his scars attract attention. So the other person was going to be drawn to hear the story of how he got them, and that's where Heath Ledger's Joker told what served him at the moment to achieve his goal. Furthermore, the fact that he lied leaves us with total uncertainty about the Joker's origins. Both stories could also have something to do with his past life, something that made him see the people in extreme situations reveal the most savage instincts. The Joker's manipulation tactics are designed to undermine his victims' sense of control over their emotion and behavior by exploiting their vulnerabilities and personal traumas, aiming to provoke and disarm them. For instance, he pushes the mobster by sharing a story about his grandmother and another about scars from an alcoholic father, which seems to hit a nerve and causes him to lose composure. Similarly, Rachel reveals her own scars through a story of love and loss, which triggers a violent reaction. What makes his manipulation even more terrifying is when he manages to destabilize someone who appears to be emotionally unbreakable. Bruce returns as Batman and confronts the Joker, who captures Rachel and threatens to throw her off a cliff. Batman doesn't reveal his identity. The Joker threatens, so the clown drops Rachel, but Batman manages to catch her in midair and bring her to safety. With this brutal elimination of officials, no one dares to prosecute the mafia except for Harvey, who remains unwavering in his decision to eradicate criminals. In a conversation with Alfred about the Joker's extreme actions, Bruce suggests that the criminals aren't complicated and simply need to figure out what they're after after. But Alfred warns him that some men, like the Joker, aren't after logical things like money. They can't be bought, intimidated, or negotiated, as all they want to see is watch the world burn. Every day that Batman remains silent, the Joker fulfills his threat and kills 2 men. They're found dead, and at the scene he discovered the next target is the mayor. The Joker is using the fear he was injecting to Gotham to turn people against Batman. This man seeks chaos as it means to expose the idealism of the highest authorities in the image of Batman in the city. He doesn't want figures or symbols because for him, these prevent the true nature of man, his immoral side, from coming to light. He wants to create chaos and disorder for those who thought he brought light. What made them feel safe, he wants to destroy them, revealing the true face of what codes, law, and ethics uphold. The Joker argues that human immorality is superficial and easily collapses under intense emotional pressure, revealing a fundamental selfish and violent nature. He believes that by manipulating people's emotions, he can control their actions to expose their darkness, inherent in human nature. It only takes creating circumstances that evoke the right feelings to provoke desired behavior. For example, plunging someone into despair or making them feel threatened can lead them to act selfishly or violently. In moments of despair, anger, or extreme stress, people tend to lose their clarity and react impulsively, driven by instincts and the need for survival rather than rational thought. In this way, the Joker's view has a certain truth, because resisting these primal impulses requires a level of willpower and self-control that many of us lack. Bruce goes in search of the Joker because it's a celebration in honor of the commissioners. The Joker's himself eliminated. Obviously, with all the executives and authorities out in the open, it was extremely dangerous, and to make matters worse, in an attempt to get rid of the mayor is shot. The police officers step and take the bullet, seemingly dying. Chaos erupts. Harvey interrupts a corrupted officer and notices the badge with the same name, Rachel, identifying her as the next victim. This enrages him, and he decides to take the criminal to a secluded location. Then, Harvey, gun in hand, interrogates him, but the Joker's henchman doubts his courage to shoot. So Harvey, playing a game of chance, decides to flip a coin to determine his fate. Heads, he lives. Tails, he dies. In this scene, Harvey's hidden dark side begins to surface, suggesting that beneath his unwavering commitment to order, justice, and control, there lurks a shadow aspect of his personality that starkly contrasts his apparent values. Just as his tension reaches a breaking point, Batman intervenes, emphasizing that Harvey's embodies the hope Gotham needs, and the Batman himself cannot be that symbol. He warns that if Harvey's dark sides were to be exposed, it would shatter the fragile stability of the city, potentially leading to chaos and the release of all the criminals detained during the mass arrest. Batman then asks to organize a press conference the next day to surrender and prevent further deaths, although Harvey doesn't want him to give him to the Joker. During the conference, Harvey tries to convince people to resist him, but the citizens are desperate and demand that Batman surrender. Bruce, resigned, prepares to reveal himself, but just as about to do so, Harvey declares that he is Batman and he's immediately arrested. Rachel questions Harvey at the precinct, who reveals his plan to be attacked by the Joker, hoping Batman will save him. She warns him against it, but Harvey flips a coin to decide. However, Rachel notices the coin has 2 identical sides, revealing that Harvey never truly relied on chance, until now. Just as Harvey suspected during the transfer, the Joker and his gang attack the police convoy, firing bursts of bullets with a bazooka. The Joker eliminates escorts, leaving only Harvey's vehicle. Just as he's about to fire, Batman bursts with his Batmobile, absorbing the impact and saving Harvey. Emerging on a Batmobile from the damaged vehicle, Batman pursues and flips the Joker's trailer with an ingenious rope maneuver. When the Joker gets out and sees Batman approaching at full speed, he tries to get the Dark Knight to run him over, testing Batman's true limits. But Bruce moves to the side of the motorcycle to avoid hitting him, adhering to his code of not killing. Right then, we have the revelation that Gordon is finally alive, and they capture the Joker. Harvey establishes himself as the city's hero, and Gordon is promoted to the commissioner. But the apparent victory is short-lived. That night, Harvey doesn't return home, so Gordon goes to interrogate him, in one of the many great scenes that this movie has. Now that the Joker can no longer murder them or ruin their image, he'll do something much more effective: destroy them psychologically. He does this with Gordon, who can't even stand a conversation with the Joker for a minute. From the very first moment, the scene makes it clear that the one who dominates the situation is the villain. Gordon moves away from the light, as if he's walking towards the bad guy's cave.
I was right here. Who did you leave him with?
Perhaps Gordon left Dent with the wrong people.
Does it depress you, Commissioner? Just how alone you really are.
Here, he realizes that even as the commissioner of Gotham, he can do nothing against this criminal. He's incapable of defeating evil. The Gotham police cannot deal with someone like the Joker. So who can defeat evil? Simple. Another evil. What I said before about the lighting is that before, Gordon was lit because he was the good guy, and Joker was in the dark because he was the bad guy. But now they're both equally lit. Neither of them are different from other. They're basically the same. The police know this, and that's why they need to see them both clearly. Batman bursts in aggressively. Batman asks why the Joker wants to kill him, receiving a laugh in response. The Joker doesn't want to kill him. He sees himself, and Batman has two sides of the same coin, entities that need each other. He speaks of the system of ethics and morality that those in power impose. But if they didn't have that code, they would have been wiped off the map at the first opportunity. He asserts that people will abandon Batman when he's no longer useful, because when things get bad, people will devour each other. Despite being handcuffed and interrogated, he wins the battle, emotionally dominating him and causing him to resonate to physical violence. The Joker tests his limits, trying to corner him in a battle of philosophical physicians. He tells him he has to save one of those two. Rachel and Harvey are kidnapped, and Batman completely loses his mind and resorts to force once more. Bruce hitting him and his ability to remain calm is no longer enough. He forces Batman to choose between two lives. The rage Batman feels blocks his ability to think, to look for loopholes and more convincing solutions. Therefore, he has to decide whom to save: Rachel, the love of his life, the person who connected him with the young Wayne, who kept him grounded, or Harvey, the next symbol of justice, who would make Batman no longer exist and no longer be needed. Both are salvation, or a part of a salvation, for him, and both can die at this moment. That's when the Joker shows how terrifying he is. He can't hurt him. He's a monster unlike any other, and one who represents an abysmal challenge for Batman. Not even all the strength in the world could overcome him. He can use it against him. His limits are ghosts that hold him back, and unfortunately, the only code Batman follows, no killing, is going to be broken today. But that's the game of the Joker. He gives him the address where they both are, and if he saves one, the other explodes. Batman speeds towards where he believes Rachel is, while Gordon and his team pursue Harvey. Both are found bound, surrounded by barrels of gasoline with a countdown clocking ticking. Batman finally arrives, but finds Harvey instead of Rachel. The Joker has tricked him. Even so, Batman rushes to save Harvey, though the flames from the explosion disfigure half of the district attorney's face. Meanwhile, Gordon and his team arrive too late to save Rachel, and she perishes in the second explosion. Yes, Rachel died, and one of the most human parts of Bruce Wayne. This means the absolute failure of Batman. This defeat proved two things. One, he does it because deep down he's human, and what he really wants is to save the woman he loves, demonstrating what the Joker said. That in a dangerous situation, people show the true colors and abandon their values. And two, because he genuinely believes the police will be able to save Harvey. He still trusts the system. The Joker's macabre joke is that the one Batman saved is Harvey, and here the police let Rachel die. The Joker is confined under strict supervision. In the conversation they have, we notice the Joker is sadistic. He enjoys hurting other people. He manipulates the officer by provoking them with stories of police officers he's killed, exploiting their anger to gain control. The Joker's skills lie in understanding people's emotional response. He can identify weakness and easily manipulate them, just like he did with Batman and Dent. When he talks to the officer about his friend's last moments, where he first describes death stripes people's souls bare, telling him that you really see who people are.
I knew your friends better than you ever did.
Then, he appears before the others holding the subdued guard and demands his right to a phone call, which is granted. However, the call is not what it seems. It activates an explosive device previously implanted in the stomach of another captured criminal, causing an explosion that clears the way for the Joker. But before escaping in a police car, he takes Lau, who was locked up for security reasons. Everything had been orchestrated by the Joker. The Joker leans out of the patrol car window like a dog, enjoying the fresh air. Batman, devastated after Rachel's death, he torments himself, wondering if he's the cause of the whole tragedy. Bruce has lost the opportunity for a better life, and Batman has lost the opportunity for a better world. Harvey has lost the woman of his life, and he's lost the face that was going to save Gotham. And the worst part is that if Harvey's face is burned, it's again because of his attempt to play the hero and get out of there as quickly as possible, proving that he never had the makings of a hero. He was never ready to succeed Batman. There was never any white knight, just as the foundation of the Joker. And what has been approved for the end of the second act is that the world doesn't allow for idealism, that heroes don't exist, and that corruption and failure are intimate evils for everyone. Harvey's coin, the one with one side on each side, but this time, it has two. Kind of a test of what has to come of what Batman and the Joker are. Two sides of the same coin. The civilized side that tries to uphold the law and the side that is all immoral. But in the end, it's the same. Everyone has to side, and according to the Joker, they must accept it. Meanwhile, the Joker have kidnapped Lau, recovers the money from the mob. Then, before the extinguished eyes of a mobster, he burns his share of the loot, declaring that the money doesn't matter to him. He insists that it isn't about money, but about sending a message. Elsewhere, a Wayne Enterprise employee, having deduced that Bruce Wayne is Batman after discovering Batmobile blueprints, is about to reveal his secret identity on national television. But before he can, the Joker calls a show. The clown doesn't want Reese to ruin his game, so he proposes a new game to the citizen. If the man doesn't die in the next 60 minutes, he will blow up a hospital. Gordon immediately orders the evacuation of all nearby hospitals, while he himself heads to protect the man. A crowd of citizens, fueled by fear and anger, gather outside the building. What the Joker aims to illustrate is that beneath the surface, everyone harbors an animalistic nature waiting to be unleashed. And how does he attempt to demonstrate this? As we discussed, the more intense the pressure, the more deeply a person's true character is revealed. Therefore, the Joker's strategy involves putting both individual and Batman under extreme stress and desperation, forcing them to confront their core selves. Recall his words during the interrogation. When things get ugly, people will devour each other. And how does he put that into practice? He puts people against one another, threatening to destroy a hospital, and he manages to distort Batman's perception by turning the city against his hero, threatening against murderers until Batman reveals his identity. Among other tactics, in these situations, the Joker skillfully breaks down people's moral boundaries, illustrating his point. The hospital. He makes an appearance disguised as a nurse. Harvey, filled with anger and resentment, blames the Joker for Rachel's death, but the clown responds that he had no grand plan, claiming instead that he likes dog chasing cars, someone who simply acts on impulse. Meanwhile, the Mafia and the police, so-called professionals, try to control their environment, but the Joker exposes how futile such efforts are, emphasizing the chaos and randomness that govern the world. He challenges the true morality of man, the words that completely break Harvey Dent's transform him, showing his view of the world and finally brings him to his side. He says chaos is just. He demonstrates that doing evil yielded better results than doing good as a prosecutor. The non-existence of good in a place like Gotham, the exposure of failure of the idealism in moments where reason makes no sense. The Joker then leaves the hospital, and true to his word, he blows up a brutal explosion. Here, we see how the Joker tactics are amplified. The clown skillfully manipulates Harvey's perception of reality using language and actions that resonate with him, convincing Harvey that the chaos and randomness that the Joker defines are more just. Although, in a coin toss where he keeps the gun's firing pin pressed, making sure not to leave everything to chance, as always, the Joker manipulates his discourse to affect the victim, demonstrating that these agents of chaos truly have everything under control. Just as Harvey tossed the coin to choose his actions, but this coin always has the same side. And in his subsequent actions, he'll be the one who chooses these decisions. Following the hospital explosion, the Joker kidnaps 50 people, using a prisoner broadcast terrifying message on a television that night. The Joker will rule the city, and those who remain must play by his rules. Those who refuse must flee. He will leave them with surprise in the bridges and tunnels. Simultaneously, a rage-consumed Harvey confronts a corrupt police officer, implicating his kidnapping and Rachel's death. Two-Face flips his coin, and the disfigured face dictates the officer's death. Officially, the hero of Gotham has been broken. Joker ends up wanting to deliver the message of chaos and the kind of experiment or demonstration to society. Listen carefully. He places 2 bombs on each of the ships. One ship is for civilians from the city, and the other has prisoners, murderers, and mobsters. Each ship is giving a detonator to blow up the other ship. Basically, he's putting the value of life to the test. Who has more value, the innocent or those who are not noble? The value of life is the same on both ships. They talk about deciding. They discuss how serious this is. Who has the power to continue living? They must decide who dies before midnight. If neither presses the button, both will explode. After the announcement, panic grips everyone. The damage to Bruce is already done, and something has changed in him. To Lucius Fox's surprise, Batman creates a Senate to monitor the city extremely closely, hoping to capture the villain once and for all.
This is wrong.
Perhaps he hasn't gone completely mad, but he knows that the moral principle he has so vehemently defended are useless in stopping the Joker, and that if he wants to end all this, he'll have to find another method. But what doesn't kill you makes you stranger. But even so, even when Batman is reaching the limits of his morality in dealing with the Joker, he locates the Joker in a building full of clowns and monsters. After several challenges, he manages to find the Joker, who is escorted by 3 ferocious dogs. Dogs symbolize the duality of loyalty and savagery, reflecting human morality, fragile nature. While often seen as symbols of unconditional loyalty in extreme situations, they reveal a savage side, mirroring how people's principles can break down under desperation and fear.
And then we'll see how loyal a hungry dog really is.
The Joker's words about feeding a dog to reveal its loyalty challenge us to consider how moral values are tested in crisis.
I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it.
His analogy of himself as a dog, a creature acting in instinct, along with his role as an alpha dog, symbolizes the primal forces surrounding human morality. Batman's ongoing conflict with these dogs, especially the Joker, represents the central struggle between civilization and the primal instinct, illustrating that under pressure, humans, like dogs, can revert to chaos and malevolence. Once again, people are weak in extreme situations. They will abandon their values and do whatever it takes to survive. But depending on the ship, the outcome is quite different. On the civilian ship, a vote is held, and a majority decides to activate it. But none of the crew, not even the most intense one, has the courage to do it. On the criminal ship, the captain can barely maintain control of the situation until one of the inmates, a robust man, gets up, asking for a detonator with the promise to do what no one else can. But in an act of redemption, he decides to throw it into the water. Neither ship decides to press the button, and the Joker made a mistake. Batman then fired blades from his suit, disarming the Joker. Here, the Joker proposes the idea that Batman, the irresistible force, faces the Joker, the immovable object. And although the Joker is upside down, the camera turns around, almost wanting to tell us that despite the situation, the Joker still won. He's still in control. Batman failed. He corrupted the best man in Gotham. The spirit of the city will be shattered when they meet the real Harvey Dent. The entire film revolves around duality, around opposites. Harvey Dent represents the symbolic by flipping his coin, and then physically with his two-face, good and evil, in the same body. Inside, he was the White Knight, the ideal citizen, the protector, the illusion of the people of Gotham. Then, through the Joker's actions, he becomes the complete opposite, his other side. To better understand this, we can refer to the concept of yin and yang from Taoism, a Chinese philosophy. These are basically the duality attributed to everything that exists in the universe. There are two fundamental, opposing, and complementary forces found in absolutely everything. According to this ideal, everything exists thanks to its opposite, leading to the conclusion that nothing exists in pure state, but is in a continuous transformation. Could light exist without darkness? Or do we actually recognize light because we differentiate from its opposite? Batman is order, moral correctness, and the Joker is complete opposite, chaos, immorality, disaster. One doesn't exist without the other, that they are part of the dance that should never end. For a good character like Batman to exist, there has to be darkness like the Joker, and all that is entails. Two-Face takes Gordon's family to the place where Rachel died. He wants revenge for not having the guts to stand up to his corrupt team. That's why he wants him to feel what Harvey felt with the death of someone he loved. He's completely corrupted by the Joker's chaos theory, by his moral ideology. Harvey then holds Gordon's son, intending to hurt him. Harvey then proceeds to flip his coin and decides the fate of the three he considers responsible. The first flip condemns Batman. A gunshot rings out. The second absolves Harvey, and the tension persists when it's Gordon's turn. Harvey wants him to feel the same anguish he felt with Rachel's death. He orders him to ensure his son that everything will be alright. And just as Gordon whispers the word, Batman acts, pushing Harvey towards a precipice, killing Harvey Dent. He lost his code of not killing. He lost it all. The love of his life, his image, Dent's salvation, the symbol, his motivation. The good guys have won. The bad guys have fallen. But along the way, the good guys have lost everything. Upon seeing Harvey's lifeless body, it suggested that the Joker has won. Everything Harvey has fought for is ruined. When Gordon asserts that people will lose hope, Batman interrupts. They won't. He argues that the citizens should know about Harvey's atrocities. The Joker can't get away with it. The Gotham needs a true hero to endure. Batman then suggests that taking the blame for Harvey's crimes, he can bear it. He's not a hero in Harvey's way. Gordon resists, knowing that Batman isn't a murderer, but Batman responds that he's what Gordon needs. Therefore, he asks Gordon to hunt him down, slander him, and unleash the dogs on him because sometimes the truth isn't enough. Sometimes people need their faith to be rewarded. With the clever symbolism of the dogs following him, but now they're police dogs. It's made clear that the hero lost and the Joker won. Everything he wanted to demonstrate, he accomplished, corrupting even the best of them. He shattered Batman's code and forced Gordon to praise and almost defied the figure of a man who nearly murdered his family. But even with all this, Batman showed true heroism. He didn't let himself to be corrupted by the deaths of his loved ones, his parents and Rachel. He decided to take the blame, choosing to do good for his shadows, even when no one appreciated his sacrifice. He remained steadfast in his vision, and just like the prisoner who throws a detonator into the water, not letting himself be completely consumed by the darkness, but rather carrying it with him like a yin and yang.